Welcome to the Astrological Weather Report for the September lunar cycle. My name is Daniel Fiverson. This forecast will detail the astrology of the September lunar month, which begins with the Virgo New Moon on September 6th and ends on October 5th. The Sun and inner planets move out of Virgo and cross the western horizon into Libra and Scorpio. This is the realm of self and society. We encounter others for the first time in Virgo. An introspective Sun lingers a bit longer. However, Mercury, Venus, and Mars are moving ahead into the social sphere, meeting up with others and committing to relationship. Virgo is discernment of the self. Libra is balance with others, and Scorpio is the commitment of union to others. We all have the moon in our natal chart. The moon correlates to the emotional body, how we see ourselves, our ego. It is imprinted with all our emotional memories. The Earth's moon is littered with craters. Our moon also has craters from the emotional impacts of the past. In order to be in a relationship with others, we need to heal these emotional craters so that we can get along with others. In Cancer, we self-identify. We form our personality, how we see ourselves. We outwardly express our self-awareness as our personality in Leo. This often excessive, extroverted ego of Leo must be scrubbed and polished in order to adapt to the balances required in Libra. In Virgo and the sixth house, we meet others for the first time. Awareness of the other reflects back as awareness of self. This opens the way, the path for work on the self. Air signs are about different levels of connection. Connection is the backbone of all relationships. In Gemini, we connect to our immediate world and brothers and sisters. In Libra, we connect with others in society. In Aquarius, we connect with our individuated community of like-minded souls. Our connection from one person to another is through listening. Listening is the core dynamic of Libra. Libra is the dating game. Scorpio is the mutual commitment. In Scorpio, essential resources are shared for the well-being of the group. Scorpio correlates to the underworld, our shadow underworld, what we have interred and buried deep within our subconscious. Scorpio and the eighth house events bring evolutionary pressure of embedded trauma that is unresolved. This month, we move from self-observation and discernment and introspection into the public space of shared resources. Our attention turns to our relationships, one-to-one and one-to-many, and how those personal interactions refer back and inform our relationship with ourselves. The lunations occur across the Venus-Pisces axis that's pictured here. The new moon maintains the Virgo space for self-awareness for the entire lunar cycle. The inner space moves into Libra, the inner planets move into Libra and Scorpio. Mercury, Venus, and Mars resonate above the horizon in the social sphere. The Pisces full moon enables powerful inner narratives, self-narratives about personal authenticity. The effectiveness of our health care and self-care choices are revealed. The new moon will expose how we have heeded the message we received on the mountain and whether we have diligently chopped wood and carried water. As the September lunar cycle unfolds, three major configurations will underscore both lunations and the planetary transits. A cardinal T-square forms anchored to the ongoing Pluto-Eris square by transits from Mercury, Venus, and the moon. An air grand trine formed by Saturn, the lunar north node, Mercury, Mars, and the Sun, and a Yod, finger of God formation formed by the balsamic sextile from Jupiter to Eris, triggered by a round of inconjuncts from the moon, Mars, the Sun, and asteroid Hygeia, And I'm going to unpack each of these configurations separately in a couple of minutes. There will be 5 planetary ingresses, which we're also going to look at as part of this forecast. Venus will enter Scorpio on September 10th. Mars will enter Libra on September 14th. Asteroid Vesta will enter Scorpio on September 20th. The Sun enters Libra at the autumnal equinox on September 22nd. And Mercury will station retrograde on September 27th. So the Cardinal Square is going to be active for the entire month, and it will, as I said, it will be functioning at its peak at the full moon, but it's also we will also see it active at the new moon. The Pluto-Eris square, which has been in orb since 2015 and will remain in orb for another 2 years, as the primary anchor of this configuration. This is an extremely rare aspect with Pluto in Capricorn and Eris in Aries. It hasn't occurred in 2,700 years since the axial age, when Buddha, Lao Tzu, Confucius, Pythagoras, Hesiod, Homer, all were on the planet. I encourage you to look up the axial age and read about it. It is corollary to the time space that we are passing through. It's the hope of what lies over the horizon for us, where we're headed. I call it a hand grenade in a steel box condition, as I said, that has underscored our times, been perfecting since 2017. Cardinal squares are locked and loaded conditions. They're loaded with the potential for initiation and for action, for something to happen. It wants to move, it wants to give, it wants to initiate. Each activation channels the energy through the inner planets and brings the effects up close and personal. It's the inner planets that will be the anchors, to this T-square, and will trigger the Pluto and Eris square 3 times. The moon will trigger it actually 6 times, because it's going to form oppositions. And I'm going to show you this animation in a minute or two. It'll form oppositions to all 3 of the arms, creating a grand cross around the time of the full moon. So it's going to activate. We're going to feel it through the inner planets. All this Pluto and Eris energy is going to come to us through Mercury, Mars, and Mercury, Venus, and the moon. So Mercury is the ruler of the lunar north node. So these are evolutionary dynamics that are in play. On October 1st, the moon will oppose Pluto and briefly initiate a cardinal grand cross, and it will only last 1 day. But because of the intensity of this Pluto-Eris interaction, and because this is these aspects are active for this entire cycle, it could precipitate much longer-lasting effects. Vesta opposing Eris and squaring Pluto will intensify the need for ego expression, pleasant and unpleasant. Mercury opposing Eris and squaring Pluto will generate angry and disruptive narratives. And the moon will trigger all 4 angles, opening channels for the firing energy to have widespread emotional expression. And I'm going to animate it for you so you can see how this is going to progress. So we have the conjunction of the moon to Pluto. Then the moon will conjoin Eris. In the meantime, Vesta will hand off the other angle to Mercury. The moon will come around and form this grand cross at the end of the month, around October 1st, and then it will complete the cycle. The air grand trine persists throughout the month as well. We have the Saturn, lunar north node trine, and the inner planets are going to trine the lunar north node and Saturn, creating the grand trine, again in sequence. The moon, Mars, and the Saturn and Hygeia will form the 3rd angle. Awareness is brought to how we are self-actualizing and who we are becoming. and how we are paying attention to the choices we are making regarding healthcare. These trines provide the mastery that we need to survive the times that we are passing through. I'll play this so again you can see this play out. So we have the three kites, 6 passes of the moon over the angles of the trine, grand trine, and then Mars, Sun, and Hygeia triggering. We also have a yod formation, which is the combination of a sextile and two conjuncts. And the sextile is a balsamic sextile between Jupiter and Eris. And again, we've got inner planets and Hygeia as the focal point. The point that that in conjuncts the sextile is the focal point of the yod in each case. Mars, Hygeia, and the moon. The persistent portion of the yod, as I said, is the sextile of Jupiter in Aquarius to Eris retrograde in Aries, both of them retrograde. These are the same planets that are active in the grand trine, Moon, Mars, and the Sun, and Hygeia. The critical stress from Jupiter and Eris is embedded as the frequency payload that the inner planets carry. In other words, the inner planets over the course of this month are going to deliver personally all of the Jupiter and Eris dynamics to us through Mars, the moon, and the sun. Hygeia orbits at the center of this composite frequency. So we should expect these dynamics to alter the presence of COVID, but not necessarily in a good way. Jupiter makes things bigger. Eris makes things worse at first. Oops, sorry. I want to show you that this double yod that forms is the moon in conjuncts Eris. We get a double yod with Eris this time as the focal point of the yod and Mars as the other focal point. Quite a combination of fiery dynamics. And then you can see that we get the Sun and Hygeia to also transit. So the Virgo New Moon at 14 degrees of Virgo occurs on September 6th. Virgo in the 6th house correlate to work on the self. Excuse me. Evolution occurs as growth through crisis. We learn through direct emotional experience. All of the dynamics described by the T-square, the grand trine, and the yod are active in this new moon chart. Disruptions to normalcy continue to contribute to emotional angst, bringing our attention to what is essential. That has been the function of Uranus since it entered Taurus, to show us that who we are becoming is built upon a platform of essential resources, whatever we deem essential for our survival. We share ideas with like-minded souls that imagine a future different than the dystopia that is unfolding around us. We have the opportunity to make more considered choices. And events orbit around the level of our commitment to individual health concerns. How we have committed to taking care of ourselves is going to determine our experience through this cycle. An inner voice whispers to us, suggesting new personal paradigms. Are we listening to that inner voice? Are we listening to what our higher self is telling us? And we encounter challenging issues regarding loss, trying to hold on to something from the past. You can see here, T-square, yod, and grand trine. The Pisces full moon occurs at 26 degrees of Pisces on September 20th. It's not virtue, it's Virgo. Sorry for the typo. All of the dynamics described again by the T-square, Grand Trine, and Yada perfecting. Hygeia, the planet of proactive healthcare, is the focal point of the Yod at this Pisces full moon. It's all about our self-care. Excuse me. Mercury triggers the Pluto-Eris square, activating the T-square. Mars perfects the lunar north node, triggering the Grand Trine. Pisces is the experience on the spiritual, is the spiritual experience received at the mountaintop. Virgo is the earthbound, carry water and chop wood. The full moon will expose how we have heeded the message we have received on the mountain and the diligence of our work on ourselves. Messages from the subconscious can flood our awareness, suggesting new strategies to deal with ongoing crises. Narratives are sharp and angry and resentful. This is Eris. The effectiveness of our healthcare, our self-care choices are exposed. And the personal beliefs build defenses around personal boundaries. What we think is true, what we believe to be true, determines our choices, determines our values and priorities, which become our choices. It's all built on our sense of truth. It's Mercury and Sagittarius, the lunar nodes currently. On September 22nd, the autumnal equinox occurs as the sun ingresses Libra. On the 22nd, the sun moves into the northern hemisphere of the natural zodiac, the social sphere. Emphasis falls on how we are self-actualizing through relationships. Are we enabling mutual self-reliance or codependency? Are we in relationships with others that support mutual personal growth? The autumnal ingress holds opportunities for the sharing and balance of power in relationships. And the inconvenient truth is that the new season brings continued interruptions and disruptions to our normalcy. On September 27th, Mercury will retrace his path through Libra, stationing retrograde. A re-examination of our choices and efforts regarding past, present, and future come up for review. How does what we think and believe to be true encourage or interfere with our progress forward? In early October, angry and disruptive narratives ignite as the messenger god confronts Eris and Pluto with a boost from Jupiter. And Mercury turns direct on October 17th and completes his transit of Libra in early November. On the 10th of September, Venus is going to enter the sign of Scorpio. Commitment issues are revealed and exposed in relationships. Venus triggers the current Saturn-Uranus square, unearthing self-worth issues. And I believe it will also agitate or trigger the polarity between those who want to go along with what consensus is asking in terms of healthcare, vaccine, social distancing, et cetera, and those who are not. Emotional conflicts and resentments come up between personal values and priorities. Crises expose how power is structured and shared, how individuality is expressed and supported. It stresses the need for better communications in existing relationships. And our personal values and priorities are infiltrated with new strategies. I'll play this so you can see how Venus will progress and make her aspects through the month, till the end of the month. This is only a portion. On the 14th of September, Mars will enter Libra. The evolutionary intent of Mars and Libra is to bridge the gaps with others. There's a soul desire to resolve or avoid conflicts with others. Our choices become more discriminating and discerning. We can take more responsibility for our emotional behavior. The boundaries to relationship that we have created are revealed. And we're learning to share power in relationships. Events, quote, encourage us to become more proactive with our healthcare. And discussion about how relationships can grow into a better future will be part of the zeitgeist. We enter a new cycle of self-care choices. And opportunities arise to act on soul desires. Mars and Pluto is the soul desire dynamic. New strategies can be realized for dealing with current life crises. And choices and behavior can express as anger and resentment. Mars will trigger the Grand Cross, triggers the Yod, creates the opposition to Neptune and Pisces. Conjoins with the Sun. A new cycle begins with COVID. This is Hygeia and Virgo. Hygeia, in my opinion, is the barometer of healthcare in the chart. Neptune as well refers to pandemics, diseases in general, diseases of an unknown origin. It's all tied up. But Hygeia is about how we're taking care of ourselves. It's about proactive healthcare. Hygeia is the root word of the word hygiene. She was the daughter of Asclepius, the father of modern medicine. So a new cycle begins. It's under pressure. Hygeia is under pressure from Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto, and they're all retrograde. Actually, all of the outer planets are retrograde through this lunar cycle, Jupiter through Pluto and Eris. Jupiter will continue to expand the growth of the variants, this inconjunct to Hygeia from Jupiter. And Neptune exposes the elusiveness of the virus and the exposure of the increasing lack of personal boundaries dealing with COVID, with this opposition to Neptune. And Pluto strengthens the infectiousness of new variants, and new strategies will emerge that deal with COVID. So I just have Sun and Hygeia here, but you can see, again, that these stresses pretty much occur throughout the month. So what can you expect for your sign? Individuals with the Sun, Moon, or Ascendant in the mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, will be embraced by the winds of change. Allow the wind to carry you past whatever's holding you back. Just relax and float downstream. Air sign individuals, Geminis, Librans, Aquarians, can feel the wind at their backs this month. Spread your wings and catch the air. Use the power that is within you to achieve what you really want. Loosen your intellectual grip and listen to what your heart is telling you. Water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, will have a rare opportunity to see themselves as others see them. It's a deep dive. Take a deep breath and jump in. Fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sag, will also be gifted with a new dose of self-observation. Manifest an examined life. Earth signs, it's time for you to share your work. Put it out there and allow peer review to refine your opus. So we're all hoping for relief and release. We're reaching out for hope for a new utopia. And that utopia, that golden age is coming, but it is still somewhere over the horizon. The current reality that we're having to deal with is dystopia, not utopia. The critical crises we are experiencing, political duality and discordance, cataclysmic weather, loss of normalcy, the resurgence of COVID, are homeopathic remedies for the toxicity of our society. We are driven inward in order to recognize that we all share the same dream and the same pain. We're all in this together. The only difference is how we choose to deal with the pain and the details of the future that we are imagining. Our way through this seemingly historical madness is to see the bigger picture. Then we can clearly see the emerging opportunities. Opportunities to not be at the mercy of public health and take better care of ourselves. Opportunities to identify and pursue our own goals and the resources we already have to achieve them. Opportunities to fulfill with others, cooperate with others for the highest good for all. As 2021 winds down over these next couple of months, we will continue to have collective experiences that bind us as well as divide us. Each of us is identifying and establishing a personal index of essential expediencies. The intensity of our outer world events will continue to escalate toward a resolution point in the future. The I Ching encourages us to understand the transitory in light of the eternity of the end. Namaste. I do consultations that help you feel your passion and find your purpose. I do these astrological weather reports once a month here on YouTube and live on EA Zoom at the new moon. And I do daily transits most days on Facebook, on my Facebook page, facebook.com, Evolutionary Astrology. You can reach me at my website, forevolutionaryastrology.com. I encourage you to go there. I've written a lot through the years about astrology to help you learn a lot about these archetypes. And you can reach me at Daniel@4evolutionaryastrology.com or call me at 505-930-2748. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. See you next month. Namaste.